I'm really pleased today to be able to introduce to you Sam Armstrong. I've known Sam for many, many years, but I just recently heard him tell his story as how he came to know the Lord Jesus Christ, and it was fascinating. But I've known Sam as a drummer in a very accomplished, polished singing group called Live Issue. We're going to show you one or two of their DVDs. I've loved working with them in various gospel music conventions. They've never invited me to go to Nashville or anywhere like that when they've gone, but nevertheless, Sam is the drummer for Live Issue, and I think several other Christian gospel bands as well. Sam, it's great to have you. How did you get into drumming? Were you one of these little boys who loved to bash away?
Oh, from I was no age, Roger. I'd been sitting listening to like the Top of the Pops on TV or something like that, or just listening to CDs. I never owned a drum kit, but I used to sit and drum on the knees and on the arms of the chairs. And yet I was always interested in drumming. At an early age, we started, a few young lads around the village where I live, started a band, and I went into it as a side drummer and had spent some years in it. But I'd never played a drum kit before.
Amazing. Now, look, can I ask you, do you play any other musical instruments or not?
No, I don't.
So it means you don't need to be able to read music. You just boom, 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 boom.
Well, some people say I can't drum either, like, but I have bass guitar and rhythm guitar at home and acoustic guitar, but I've never really took the time to sit down and learn them.
Amazing.
Which I'd love to do.
But you're a very, very accomplished drummer. There's no doubt about that.
Oh no, I wouldn't say that, right?
and the group Live Issue, yes. What it's quite well known in many places, but for those who don't know, just tell us about it.
Live Issue was a group started way back in the very early 80s by two young fellas in Donaghcloney who were born again Christians. And the idea of the group was to go out and witness and play to what was in the 70s, coffee bars and things, young people's fellowships.
I remember
and
those.
That's what the group was set up for.
Right, wonderful. And nowadays?
Nowadays, we're doing a range of things. We have recently taken on doing a few cruises. We were approached by a travel agents in Portadown, Thompson Travel, if we would be interested in going down the Rhine on a river cruise with us as the entertainment in the evening times. So we thought long and hard about that there for about 2 minutes and said yes.
Amazing.
So have you? Sorry.
No, well, I was just say, have you learned Nearer My God to Thee? Because that's what you played when the Titanic was going down. You might need it.
Yes, I know the story behind that, Roger. I hope the rivers aren't that deep.
Indeed. And you've also, as a group, you've played in Nashville, haven't you? Which is quite an honor, really.
It was. We're very fortunate in our time as a group to have met the acquaintance and been very friendly with a guy called George Hamilton IV from America.
Yeah.
When George come over, we would have toured with him. We went to England and all, and subsequently we went over to America. We toured America 4 or 5 times and had the great honor and privilege to play in the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee, which was very, very scary.
Was it? Yeah.
We are the first band from Ireland to ever play in the Grand Ole Opry, and only the second band from the United Kingdom to play in it. The band before us was in the 1960s.
Amazing. Do you get nervous before a performance, a concert, whatever you call them?
Absolutely. If you don't get nervous, you're doing it on your own strength, Roger, and you're setting yourself up for a fall. We would never go on the stage without having a prayer time and bringing the whole meeting to the Lord and asking for his help and for the Holy Spirit to work through us.
Well, I want to come on to that as to how you became a Christian. I just want to ask you lastly about the band. What's your favorite song that you sing?
The favorite song, my goodness, there's so many. With Live Issue, I Believe, an old 60s song or 70s song, all about God's creation.
Yeah.
And I just love it.
Yeah.
The words on it are so poignant.
I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. Oh, I believe, I believe, I believe above the storm, the smallest prayer will still be heard. Great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why. Touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. Thank you very much.
Well, I love one you sing about 3 crosses. We'll see if we can play that later. But I want to go back, if I may, Sam. You brought up in a village, you say. Was this,
Yes.
In Northern Ireland, when your sort of age, I think you probably would go to Sunday school and church. Was it a God-fearing family you were brought up in?
It was a God-fearing family to an extent. My mother never enjoyed good health from as long as I can remember her. And she wasn't able to go to church. My father would have taken us to church as youngsters. And right from the early age, we went to church and Sunday school at Church of Ireland. I got involved in choirs and sang in the choir in it. But really and truly, Roger, I have to say, I never really knew about the need to be saved. For me, going to church on a Sunday was like going to school during the week. It was something that we had to do. But I've many happy memories of that, especially at Easter time. Coming from a large family, my father worked in a factory and the money wasn't plentiful. But I do recall every Easter Sunday we were sent out in brand new outfits.
Oh, really?
Every one of us. And that's something that I always remembered.
Yeah, great. When you say a large family, how many brothers and sisters?
There were 7 of us all together.
Oh, right.
There was 5 brothers and two sisters. The oldest and the youngest were sisters.
Huh.
And I think I told you that the last time I was talking to you, the 5 boys were bullied by the 2 sisters.
What number were you?
I was the eldest boy.
Ah,
So I had an older sister and then myself, and then 4 other brothers and then a sister.
now you, I know, as well as being a great drummer, you really still have a passion for motorbikes, don't you?
Absolutely, absolutely, Richard. Or Roger.
I've been
Roger.
called all sorts of things. Just try "Hey You," that'll do.
I love my motorbikes. I have 2, but I came to enjoy motorbikes whenever I started to work because I needed transport. And my father bought me a wee 50cc moped. And once I started to work, all my money was being saved up to buy bigger and bigger and bigger motorbikes. So I got bit by the bug, and it's still as real today as what it was back then.
How many motorbikes do you have today?
I only have 2.
Only 2.
Only 2.
and what are they?
Well, I have a wee 1977 Honda 125, which
Right.
I'm rebuilding.
Right.
And that was, I bought that one because it was my first new bike that I ever bought. And I always had a passion for it and always wanted the same model again.
Right.
So after all these years, about 4 or 5 years ago, I eventually found one and bought it.
Very good. And the other?
The other is a Kawasaki 650 Versace. So yeah, which I've just bought. I've sold a BMW to buy it.
Very good. Now, it was actually a motorcycling incident that really was the catalyst for you eventually coming to trust Christ. But it's a sad story. Tell us what happened, Sam.
Yeah. I'll take you back to Christmas 1977, Roger. I had a younger brother. He was 2 years younger than me. And I had influenced him onto motorbikes. My other 2 brothers, or 2 of my other brothers, were more interested in cars. But this brother got interested in motorbikes too. And he is a bit wild on bikes. I didn't have the nerve that he would have had. But take you back to New Year's Eve night, 1977, when people would have been out enjoying themselves and partying and all the rest. And I was babysitting up at my aunt's house, but my brother, he was out on his motorbike scooting around the village. He had been playing badminton before that and went out on his motorbike. But a young lad, just about his age, his mother and father were out dancing, and he went into the garage and took their motor out and come down past our house on the car, and my brother was driving down the road behind him. He ripped the handbrake up, did a handbrake turn, and my brother went over the top of the car. And he was killed more or less instantly. He landed on the step of a house, which was, the step was quite high up on his chest, and it burst the main artery to his heart. So he was killed. The only other mark on him was wee graze down the side of his face.
How old was he, Sam?
He was 18.
And how did that impact your father and mother?
My mother went to pieces immediately. That night, my mother took off all her jewelry and never wore as much as a watch again. Took earrings out, necklaces. We always said my mother died the night my brother died. And quite honestly, she did.
Yeah, wow.
You know, but it affected us all. I developed a thing called psoriatic arthritis. And I took that there after my brother was killed, simply because I blamed myself on influencing
I was going to say,
him.
did you feel guilty because you'd introduced him to motorcycles?
Absolutely, absolutely. It played on my mind for a long, long time that I had influenced him on the motorbikes.
Wow.
And in fact, for a while, I thought, why wasn't I killed instead of him?
Mm.
You know, I went down to the graveyard at night and sat in the graveyard at the grave. You know, it was tough.
I'm sure it was. But this influenced you spiritually as well, didn't it, Sam?
Well, it did, because by that age, Roger, I had stopped. Once I come working age and got a pound or two in my pocket, I didn't want to go out to church on a Sunday,
Mm.
and I stopped attending church.
Mm.
But after that, I started to go back again to church. I was still questioning God why it had happened, but I felt a comfort going back to church. I felt that's where it should be, and so that's what I did.
Mm. And eventually you were converted. You, as you put it, you were saved, you were forgiven, you were made right with God. When did that happen? How did it happen, Sam?
Well, that happened a few years. My brother was killed in 1977, coming into 78. I met my wife, Christine, at a youth club in the village of Donaghcloney. And that was about 81, 80, what? 1980. My wife's
They're better at remembering these things.
Yes, 1980. And I could see that she was different to me because she wouldn't have smoked or drank or anything like that. She was a good Christian girl, and I respected her for that. And shortly, a few weeks, in fact, after I'd met her, there was a part in the youth club at nights whenever you'd have to sit down for 10 minutes and listen to someone who come in and give a wee epilogue. And now, boys being boys at that time, we weren't much interested in it. We would have carried on and hit the fella beside you, or acting the tin pig, as we would say. But that night, the guy walked in and I recognized him from school. And I had went to Lurgan intermediate schools. And that was whenever the troubles were going on real bad. And me being from the country, I knew nothing compared to them boys from Lurgan. They were far smarter, far more streetwise than I was. And I remembered this guy from school, and he wasn't what I would have called a good boy. You know, he had got involved in various things, and I was surprised to see him there. And he stood up and he talked about what he had been involved in and the things that he had done and how he had went astray, and God spoke to him and he was saved. And as I listened to that guy saying that night, there was something just come over me and said, you need to sit, you need to listen to this. This is for you. And the boys were still trying to carry it on, and I said, look, I want to hear this, boy. So after it was over, I spoke to Christine, who I was with. I says, look, I want to know more about this. And Christine and myself met him, went out with him just around that it was held in a school, youth club, and we walked around the perimeter of that school, and he told me my need to be saved. And he told me how to be saved. He told me that God loved me and I needed to come to him for forgiveness. And that night, I gave my heart to the Lord. And that was the start of an amazing journey.
How old were you, Sam, when that happened?
I think I was about 21.
21.
21 when that happened. I was, about 21, 22. It was happened in November that year.
And the difference it made to you immediately?
The difference it made to me immediately, I was in the flute band at that time, and there was another guy in it who was also a Christian, and he went on to be a pastor. And he was the one guy in that band that I looked up to, because he would have witnessed to the rest of the boys.
All right.
And I really looked up to him for that. But I felt he had left the band shortly after that and had went to Bible college.
Hmm.
And I just felt that it wasn't a place for me to be after that.
Mm.
I started to go to my wife's church, or my then girlfriend's church, which is Presbyterian Church in Banbridge. Started to go to youth fellowships and things like that. And that's where I got my teaching. And that's where I grew in the faith.
Interesting. Now, you've mentioned already, Sam, the Troubles. You really
Yes.
were a young person, very much aware of all that was going on when the Troubles were at their height and their worst. And you must have known people who were involved, whether they were terrorists or whether they were in what was then called the RUC, the police force of
Yeah.
Northern Ireland. Tell us some of the stories you remember.
I run around with one young lad, again, on the motorbikes. We had great fun together. There used to be a gang of maybe 8 or 9 of us all run about together. I never got up to badness, but we would have went out in the evenings for spinning the bike. Would have all went. It was the dumb thing to go to the picture house on a Friday night if there was good film on. And that's how we put in our time. And those Protestants and Catholics amongst us. But we used to have great fun going to the picture house because they used to play the Queen at the end of the evening.
Yes.
And some of us Protestant, we got to each side of the boys, the Catholic boys in the middle, and they tried to get out of the picture house before the Queen was played. But we stood up and we wouldn't let them pass. But it was all good fun. There was no evenness involved. And this guy was one of the fellas that was there. And he had told me he wanted to join the RUC, and I had given him a hand to fill in the forms and all the rest. And he was on it 5-6 weeks, and he was blue to bits in Newry. And that struck home to me. You know, the fact that I had helped him fill the forms and things.
Was he a Christian? Had he trusted Christ, as far as you know?
I can't say that he was, Roger.
Wow.
I can't say. Another relative of mine, and he was a Christian, a family man, and they waited on him at the end of his lane, and he was murdered just coming up to Christmas time. And I worked with that guy in the station and had been out on duty with him maybe a night or two before that. And boy, that struck home.
So friends of yours murdered, and I don't know, did this make you question God? You were a Christian, you were trusting in the Lord. Did you wonder why this was happening?
It made me question myself, Roger, between that and my brother being murdered, or my brother being killed on the motorbike. It made me realize just how fragile life was.
Yeah.
And that's whenever I come to know the Lord.
Wow, it's they were very troubled times, but there were many Christians caught up in all of this, weren't there? Many lost their lives, and
oh, absolutely. Yes, there was. And the likes of the RUC, there was 2 groups within the RUC. You were either a Christian or you were an alcoholic or heading down that road.
Yeah.
You know, because that was just the way people coped with things, Roger. And I suppose it was the same in other groups, the army and things they got there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was troubled times, and you just didn't know what was going to happen next.
Yeah. Wow.
Farmer and a teacher, a hooker and a preacher, riding on a midnight bus bound for Mexico. One was heading for vacation, one for higher education. And 2 of them were searching for a lost soul. but that driver never ever saw the stop sign. And 18-wheelers can't stop on a dime. There are 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway. Why there's not 4 of them, heaven only knows. I guess it's not what you take when you leave this world behind you. It's what you leave behind you when you go. Well, that farmer left a harvest and a home of 80 acres. The faith and love for growing things in his young son's heart. And that teacher left her wisdom in the minds of lots of children as she tried to give them all a better start. And that preacher whispered, can't you see the promised land? As he laid that bloodstained Bible in that hooker's hand. There are 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway. Why there's not 4 of them, heaven only knows. I guess it's not what you take when you leave this world behind you. It's what you leave behind you when you go. That's the story that our preacher told last Sunday, as he held that blood-stained Bible up for all of us to see. He said, bless the farmer and the teacher and the preacher who gave this Bible to my mama, who read it to me. And there are 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway. Why there's not 4 of them, now I guess we know. It's not what you take when you leave this world behind you. It's what you leave behind you when you go. There are 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway.
So you've been a Christian for quite a few years. I can tell that. We'll say at least a decade anyway. And you've been serving the Lord in going around with the band, singing, proclaiming the gospel, because they make the gospel very clear, don't they? The live issue, wherever they're going, they want to explain.
We try to. It's our duty to do that.
Yes, but you're still involved with motorbikes.
I've still got my motorbikes. Well,
a little bird told me you're not accident free, are you?
Sorry?
A little bird told me you're not accident free.
Free from motorbikes?
Yeah, no, accident free. You've had a few.
I've had a few spills. I went over the top of a car one day on the motorbike. Now there's a funny story to this.
It doesn't sound very funny, but anyway.
Have you heard the story?
No, I haven't, but please tell me.
Well, so one Sunday morning before I was saved, I come out of church and it was summertime and the sun was splitting the trees. And as the minister was preaching, I was looking out through the window saying, can't wait to get home to get in the motorbike. Get away for a spin. And I went for a spin on the bike when I come home, and it was just about 3 miles down from where I lived. There was coming into a village called Marlin, and there's a wall along the side of the road, and a graveyard at the other side of that, beside the church. There was a road from the right hand side, and a guy pulled out of that road on the right, and I hit him at the front. It was either hit him or hit the wall, right, and go over. I thought the car was, well, I make the excuse that I thought the car was easier to hit, but I didn't have a chance. No. I hit the car just where the wing meets the door.
Right.
And went up, my head hit the pillar at the window and lifted a gouge out of my helmet that you could put my fist into.
Wow.
And I went over the top of the car and onto the ground. I was knocked out. Whenever I come around, the minister, the service was just finishing, and whenever I come around and open my eyes, the boys, people were pinning me down to the ground. I was trying to get up and they were pinning me down. But whenever I looked up, the minister was standing at my feet with the robes on. So I thought I died. But I got off not too bad. I broke my arm, I think, and a couple of had a neck brace on, but after I think 3 or 4 days, I cut the plaster off my arm to get onto the motorbike again.
Oh, dear. You're crazy, absolutely. But you've had some more recently, I gather.
Let me think. France 2014. I had to think there, Roger. I'm sorry. France 2014. I went over with my brother, both of us on motorbikes, to see the war graves in France. I'm interested in the war, and I had 2 relatives that lost their lives at Passchendaele over there, and their names on the Menin Gate. So we went over to see the war graves and then head down to Belgium to see the Ypres, to see the Menin Gate. And we did that and discovered both my relatives' names, and were able to pay our respects there. But in the French town of Albert, we come out to a roundabout, and it was a wet day. We'd been to the museum. I stopped at the roundabout. My brother just didn't quite get stopped, and he bumped into the back of me. Didn't hit me hard, but just touched the panniers of the bike. And as any biker would do, try to save the bike. He put his foot on the ground, put my foot on the ground, and tried to hold the bike up. But the bike went over and twisted my whole knee. Ended up tore my ligaments, ripped the cartilage in my knee at both sides, chipped a bone in my knee, and I still suffer today. I have a metal brace that I'm supposed to wear on my knee all the time. But
oh dear, you don't think that some hints are being dropped, do you?
I don't what?
I just wonder whether there's a hint being dropped that it's time to. No,
definitely not.
And you've also had health issues. Now,
yes,
the health issues were very serious. And again, I'm asking you, you're a Christian, you're seeking to serve the Lord, but you have more recently had some very big health issues, haven't you?
Yes. 2019, I had a heart attack when I was driving a school bus with handicapped kids in it. I drove on, thinking it was just angina. I drove on to the school, unloaded those kids, and drove home 12 miles in the bus. Went down to the doctor's surgery, and he didn't discover it was a heart attack, but the ambulance crew arrived at the doctor's. And whenever I got into the ambulance, obviously in the doctor's surgery, they had given me the tablet under the tongue, or the aspirin and the spray under the tongue, and that had eased the pain, opened the arteries. But the time I got into the ambulance and started to head for the hospital, the pain suddenly come back again, and they had to stop the ambulance and work with me on the side of the road. I ended up, I've 8 stents in.
Wow.
4 down each side.
Amazing.
But fortunately, that was during the COVID, or just before COVID. And as you know, everything was stopped then. So the band wasn't playing out.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that was one saving grace. Otherwise, I think I would have had to have left the band at that time, because my health was real bad, and because of complications, it took me 2.5, 3 years to recover from that.
So Sam, you've been through so much, and you've seen so much, and the sadness hit your family and your friends. What does the Lord Jesus mean to you? What does it mean to you that you're a Christian?
It gives me the security of a heavenly home.
Mm.
I've been really blessed to bring up two wonderful kids. My son, who's involved in Crosslinks ministry,
All right.
and a daughter who's a nurse, like my wife is, both going down the Christian path, both good Christian young people. My son wants to go on in the ministry. I have a good bunch of Christian friends around me, and God has been more than good. God has been with me. I believe it was him that saved my life whenever I had the heart attack, because he hadn't finished with me yet. And I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. And I just want to get out there. You know, when I look at what I've been through in life, I'm glad that I'm a Christian. And I don't know how I would have faced the world if I hadn't come to the Lord whenever my brother died, because it really did affect me. But when I look at what has happened since I joined that wee band, and like me, in a wee village, 3 mates in a band, setting out to conquer the world, we never thought, Roger, that God would use us the way that he has used us. Or we didn't believe for 1 minute that God would open the doors that he has done. And it's just, we stand amazed when we see what God can do to a couple of boys who just want to get out there and serve him. You know, and it's just, every day there's something else happening. It's just fantastic. And as I said, we're going now, we've been asked to go down the Danube this Christmas.
Oh, right.
And on a boat, and witness on that boat to the passengers on us. And that's just, God has just been so good in my life. And I've been so blessed with my wife, who has been a big influence on my Christian life, who has been there and has helped both her and her mother. Have been, the night I was saved, we went home to her house and went in, and her mother got out of bed, put her good Sunday clothes on, and come down, and we sat, and she witnessed to me for 2 hours. And you know, that has been a big influence on my life, and I just praise God.
Wonderful. Go on, sorry.
No, I just praise God for what he has done.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. We're going to have another piece from Live Issue now. I don't think it's Nearer My God to Thee, but I do think you should learn it before you go down the Danube. But Sam, thanks ever so much. Really lovely to chat with you again. And God bless you, and indeed Live Issue altogether. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Heartaches seem to find me no matter where I hide. There are some things I just don't understand. And Lord, sometimes I fail you, no matter how I try. But I know where to find your loving hand. I'll be crying on your shoulder again. Yes, I'll be crying on your shoulder again. You're the one I lean on, Lord, you're my best friend. When I have a problem I can't understand, I'll be crying on your shoulder again. I'll be crying on your shoulder again. They say life is what we make it, but it's sometimes so unfair. We have to take the sunshine with the rain. I don't mind the storms as long as you are there. Your loving hand will drive away the pain. I'll be crying on your shoulder again. Yes, I'll be crying on your shoulder again. You're the one I lean on, Lord, you're my best friend. And when I have a problem, oh, that I can't understand, I'll be crying on your shoulder again. Yes, I'll be crying on your shoulder again. And when I have a problem, oh, that I can't understand, I'll be crying on your shoulder again. Yes, I'll be crying on your shoulder again.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Roger and Sam, for that. Look, I don't know if this is just me, but I feel like this happens a lot, or they target me a lot, okay? But I often get adverts, you know, through my phone, through the internet, on YouTube, whatever, that are saying, follow this new method to increase or create this new skill which will impact your life in a better way, or follow this method which will then help you to build up a six-figure monthly income. Or, you know, listen to this new guru who has this new information which can help solve a particular problem in your life and this world. And I'm often caught clicking on the video, okay? I'll click on their first little introductory video, which is free, and they'll, you know, put across the problem in the scenario which I'm facing, and I'll think, this person knows exactly what I'm going through, okay? They get me. You know, they've encountered the issue perfectly, and they say, right, they've got a solution, or they say they know this, you know, new guru or whatever that you need to listen to. And I'll be thinking, this is it, this is gonna really help my life. This is the solution. And anyway, the music starts to build and build as they get towards their grand, you know, answer or solution to my life. And I'm thinking, I'm there with them, I'm here, this is gonna fix me. And the music builds, and their great answer is, all you have to do is pay a one-time offer of £2,000 to get the answer. Look, this happens a lot, okay? And I am just left, you know, crashed out in my emotions thinking, oh, I've been scammed again. I never pay it, by the way. But I've been scammed again, you know. They don't actually have the answer. They don't actually care about my life. They just want some more money, right? They want a quick dollar. Ever been there before? Oh, I hope it's not just me. And most often, or most likely, right, what they're repackaging behind this paywall is information we could find out pretty easily. Let's not joke around here. But notice what Sam said, okay? Sam said in his story, he found someone when he was 21 years old who has led him his entire life since. Someone who says, or he says, I would have not made it through without them. Someone who has blessed him, guided him, helped him through the darkest of times. He said he found God. I wonder, what do you make of that? What do you think of God? You know, maybe you think it's just someone who is far off, actually quite uninterested or uncaring and cold. You know, if he really does exist, he doesn't care about his creation because look at the darkness in this world. Or maybe you think, you know, if God exists, he's this judgmental, arrogant, or bossy figure, which I don't really need in my life. Don't need that kind of weight in my life. But Sam says he knows God. God's been active in his life, close to him in the hardest times. And he says, actually, that he has stood amazed at how good God's been to him. What do you think about that? Now, maybe, look, I hear you. Maybe you're saying, that's just Sam. That's lovely for him. And I wish I could have his faith, but it's just not for me. But listen to me now. It really is for you. This can be you as well. You can know this God. Have this God who is present in your life. Just listen to what Jesus says in the Bible. I love this verse. Jesus says this in John's Gospel. John, who is a first century follower of Jesus, wrote down Jesus' life and teachings so we could know today. And he records Jesus saying this: I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays his life down for the sheep. Jesus, who is this, most famous character in history, is the name the whole world knows, right? In fact, he tipped this whole world upside down. He changed us completely in our culture to the point where historians today say that we so don't realize that we are living in Jesus' teachings and effects that it's kind of like we're fish swimming in water. Just as fish don't know they're wet, we don't realize how much we've been affected by Jesus. And those are, non-Christian historians. Those aren't people who believe, but they're just saying, this is how much this guy has affected us and changed us. Now, Jesus went on to not only just teach great things, but he claimed to be God. In fact, just after that verse where he says he's the good shepherd, he goes on to say he's God. And this is how Jesus would describe himself. He says he's God, and this is how he pictures himself for humanity to understand who God is. He says he is God, is the good shepherd. He doesn't say he's the boss. He doesn't say that we're beneath him, we should submit to him, that we're lesser than him and we should just obey. He doesn't say that. He says he is the good shepherd, and the good shepherd lays his life down for the sheep. Now, the sheep are here pictured by Jesus as humanity. Maybe that offends you. But it probably should a little bit. Sheep aren't very clever. In fact, sheep are often known for being the opposite of clever, right? They wander and meander through life, often walking right into danger. Maybe you've had a sheep wander out in front of your car before. There was at one time, the oldest sheep in the world was called Methuselah. She was 25 years old, and the farmer said she could have lived longer if only she hadn't walked off the cliff. Now look, sheep are not bright. They wander and meander, they're confused, they just, looking for the next thing in life which can feed them, often. But I wonder if that relates at all, okay? Because if I really think that does relate to my life, right? I wonder if you ever felt like you're just meandering through this life. Just wandering and wondering what this life is all about. Ever felt purposeless or aimless? Ever just asked those big questions of what the heck am I doing here? What is this life for? Look, we were not made to wander and wander alone. But we were made to have this connection, this relationship with the God who is there. The God who made you, who made all of this. And we were made to be in a loving, good, as Jesus said, good relationship with him, who leads us and guides us as our good shepherd. And Sam has experienced this, and he says it has been the greatest thing in his life. And you can know it too. You were made for this. And best of all, it's free. You don't have to pay a penny. This video is not ending with a just pay a one-time price of 10,000. No, this is free. Jesus came to this earth to show us and reveal himself to us and say, you've been wandering. Come back to me. I'm the good shepherd. You are made to be with me. All you have to do is call out to me, is trust me, is ask me, invite me into your life. This good shepherd is not someone who's going to impress and force himself upon you. It gives you freedom. You can wander without him, or we can choose to listen to his voice. All you do. Sam listened to his voice at 21, and he says it's the greatest thing he's done. And he stands amazed at how good he is. You can know this good shepherd too. And he will be with you in the good times and the bad. Look, when we have this good shepherd in our life, it doesn't mean that our life is going to be, pain-free. It's going to be easy, nice and light. Look, Sam definitely didn't say that, right? He's been through many dark times. He's had hardship. But notice he said, even through those dark times, God was with him. In fact, he said, I don't know how I would have faced it without him. Do you know in the darkness you don't have to be alone? How do you cope with the dark? Look, I don't know about you, but I'm often the last person downstairs to turn off all the lights at night and then go upstairs to bed. Maybe that's you as well. Familiar with this situation, perhaps. I wonder what is your strategy. I don't really like the dark that much. Sometimes I like it, because it freaks you out a little bit. Maybe that's weird. I don't know. But I don't often like it that much. And so, often it's a turn all the lights off downstairs and then run upstairs or, quickly walk upstairs to get away from the darkness. But notice this. Ever realized how much easier it is in the dark when you're not alone? Just someone else being there in the room with you makes things much easier. I'm not saying all your fears go and, everything is easy. There's still objects in the darkness which you have to avoid. But it's certainly a lot better. Certainly a lot easier. And that is the truth about the good shepherd being in your life, being in the darkness in this world. Listen to what another person in the Bible wrote about God, seeing them as their shepherd in life as well. He said this, the Lord is my shepherd. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I'll fear no evil, for you are with me. Being in this relationship with the Good Shepherd, with Jesus, with the God of this world, means that he is walking with you even in the darkest times. And I find that when he's with me in the darkness, my fears are dampened and I'm helped and led through it. And often, that's what we need in the darkest times. Not someone who tries to come in and fix all our problems, all our pain, but someone who is with us in it. Someone who knows it and has experienced it himself. And Jesus certainly has, right? He said he's the good shepherd who laid his life down for the sheep. Jesus has had his life taken away from him. He understands the darkness and the pain of this world. But that's not only, the darkness we encounter in terms of the suffering and pains which happen to us, but also it's the darkness which we bring upon ourselves and upon others. Just like sheep walk into messes, I have made a real mess of things as well. I've created a lot of dark situations in my life and for other people. But the Good Shepherd wants to lead us and guide us and help us through those too. And he wants to be your way out of the mess. The Bible calls, our brokenness, our mess, the times when we go wrong, calls it sin. And it says these have eternal consequences that need to be paid for. But that's why the Good Shepherd laid his life down for the sheep. Because he says, this is how good he is. He does not want you to face the consequences of your mess, of your brokenness, of your sin. And so he himself faced those consequences for you. And he went to the cross 2,000 years ago. The God behind all of the universe, revealed in humanity, had nails pushed through his hands and feet, had a spear thrust through his side. And on the cross, He was facing and bearing all the weight, all the consequences of the world's bad choices and decisions and mess and brokenness. There is no person's life which is in too much of a mess, which he cannot pay for on the cross. There is no darkness so great that you've caused that he will not enter in and lead you out of through the cross. He's the good shepherd who's with us in our darknesses which happen to us. And he wants to lead us out of the darkness which we create. He laid his life down for his sheep, for you and for me. Will you invite him in? The reality is, in this life, you don't just need, an online course or a guru or a life coach or a helper. We need a saviour. One who will come and fix that brokenness within, and that's what he does. I wonder, will you bring Jesus in? Will you, like Sam, invite him into your life as that good shepherd? Do you know you don't have to be alone in the dark anymore? All you have to do is call upon Jesus. Say, I want to go your way. Will you show me? Will you lead me? Will you guide me? Acknowledge you've gone wrong. And thank him that he paid the price for all our wrong on the cross. I wonder, you've been wandering and wandering alone, wanting more from this life. Jesus is here. And he wants to lead you and guide you, not only just through this life, but into the next, to that heavenly home where all the darkness, all the pain, all the brokenness is fixed once and for all. And Sam said that's where he's being led to by Jesus as well. And you can too. All you've got to do is ask him. Let me just pray. Thank you, Lord Jesus, that you are the good shepherd. Thank you that you're the God who is real, who exists, and you are good. And you want to guide us, you want to lead us. I pray for anyone who doesn't know you, that they would put their trust in you today. And they would be led by your love, your guidance, your wisdom. And find life in you. Life forever. In Jesus' name, amen.
There's a way back to God from the dark paths of sin, a door that is open and you may go in. An old wooden cross is where you begin when you come as a sinner to Jesus. And all that can stop you is your foolish pride. Won't you admit that you've cheated and lied? But that is the reason the dear Savior died. So come as a sinner to Jesus. Won't you come as a sinner to Jesus? Peace and forgiveness, a satisfied mind, the sum of the treasures of heaven you'll find. So leave what is hateful and hurtful behind, and come as a sinner to Jesus. There's a way back to God from the dark paths of sin, a door that is open and you may go in. At Calvary's cross is where you begin when you come as a sinner to Jesus. Won't you come as a sinner to Jesus? Please come as a sinner to Jesus.